my dream. We who live for truth, for love. The moment has come to take our rightful place in the world where we wizards were free. Join me or die.
The wizarding and non-wizarding worlds have been at peace for over a century. Grindelwald wants to see that peace destroyed.
You want me to hunt him down? To kill him? Dumbledore, why can't you go?
I cannot move against Grindelwald. It has to be you.
This is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man, coming to you live once again from beautiful Hawaii here on the island of Oahu, bringing you, yes you, the best movie reviews on the entire island of Oahu. And yes, this is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man, here on the island of Oahu, state of Hawaii, bringing you my review for, gosh, what is this thing called again? Opening night of the new Harry Potter Fantastic Beasts. Oh, that's it. Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of GrIndelwald. Now, remember our rating scale? Shock a thumbs up. It's good to see. I recommend it. Shock a thumbs down. It's junk. I don't recommend it. And essentially for Fantastic Beasts and The Crimes of GrIndelwald, which I will just refer to as The Crimes of GrIndelwald from here on, because that's a heck of a mouthful. It is, overall, a shock a thumbs down. I'm sorry, Potter fans. You know, I wasn't the biggest Potter fan in the world. I enjoyed the books. I enjoyed the movies. Up until Goblet of Fire. After Goblet of Fire, they kind of got, you know, the movies got kind of wishy-washy as they were trying to really, I don't know, condense them way too much from the books. But, you know, my favorite movie and book would be The Prisoner of Azkaban. They say that that's like a weaker of the movies or didn't do so well at the box office. But, you know, I really feel for that movie. I get a good sense, you know, with Harry's uncle and everything, you know, and that's kind of where the story turns. You know, we find out Voldemort really isn't just some shadowy figure from, from the past, you know, some specter haunting Harry, you know, throughout his days, but an actual living, breathing entity attempting to come back, and reestablish all of his mighty power. Okay, but this is not that movie. Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of GrIndelwald stars, you know, again, Eddie Redmayne comes back from the first Fantastic Beasts movie, along with the majority of the characters from the very first movie. And of course, with Jude Law as Dumbledore, a young Dumbledore, and now, as Grindelwald. Who is that? Johnny Depp. And I have to say, the performances in this movie, as far as Jude Law, when he is on screen as Dumbledore, for all of maybe 10 minutes, he is on fire. He sells it. You really buy that he's Dumbledore, and you buy that he's a powerful, caring wizard. Johnny Depp gives a fantastic performance as Grindelwald, Grindelwald. His character, in this one movie, since he didn't have much of a play in the very first movie, as he just suddenly is revealed, you know, you really feel for him, and you can't help but feel that, you know, this is the start of, you know, Voldemort, really. And you could look at Voldemort and say that he was directly inspired by this guy. And I'm sure in some manner or another, since JK's seems to be picking, you know, little places where they can link all these other movies together into this shared magic universe that she's trying to create and hook directly to the Harry Potter franchise. You know, and you know, from what, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows books, you get that little backstory, the fairy tale of Dumbledore and mention of Grindelwald, that they had a relationship, and it is because of this relationship that he was unable to go fully against Grindelwald to begin with. And we find out, you know, it was because he loved him. And it is possible, well, it is inferred that it is because of this great love between these two characters, you know, that made Dumbledore, as he had to kill, you know, spoilers if you hadn't read this, or saw the movies, I guess, you know, that he had to kill Grindelwald in the end. And because of that, he kind of swore off, I'm not going to do that again, you know. And that's kind of why Voldemort was able to get so strong and powerful, because Dumbledore, having felt the guilt of killing his lover, you know, Grindelwald, as the evil, you know, wizard of the world, you know, wanted, you know, did not want to replay history again and take on Voldemort. You know, which I think was always a fundamental flaw in in that storyline. And it is something that still pecks deep in my heart, because they directly come to Dumbledore in this movie, and they say, hey, how come you're not, you know, we need your help, the Ministry of Magic, we need your help, you need to move against Grindelwald. And he says, no, I can't. And we find out there is a rationale behind it, and J.K. Rowling skips the whole inference of homosexuality in this, and that he had loved Grindelwald, being that he has somehow had that blood pact. You know, a little bit of a spoiler here. They, you know, they did a blood pact, maybe became like blood brothers in a way, so that, you know, and it was a charm that Grindelwald carried with him that said that Dumbledore can't not attack him, you know, as long as he carried this charm. You know, and they don't really say, well, why did he give him this blood or allow this blood pact to be done? You know, if you had read the other books, you know, from Harry Potter, and the inferred, you know, relationship between the two is probably out of love. You know, that neither two could attack one another, I guess. Although it seemed that Dumbledore was the one that was, you know, more hampered by this charm than, per se, Grindelwald. There's also another spoiler, which I won't touch upon, who Eddie Redmayne's, or not Eddie Redmayne's, but the guy who's supposed to be in the Flash movies that probably won't be, Ezra Miller, who his character turns out to be, which kind of seems like a slap in the face from the stories. It's been a long time since I read the Deathly Hallows and those, you know, that, and I can't quite remember that fairy tale, but there's something to do with the Dumbledore family. Of course, we know that his sister was killed or had died at an early age, and he had always felt that guilt. But there was, I believe, in the fairy tale, it said something about the rest of his family, his brother and his sister had died somehow. And that is why it was so easy for Voldemort to trick Dumbledore into putting that ring on that would eventually kill him, you know, from the movies and from the book, because it was cursed, because it would allow him to see his dead family once more. Very much like the mirror, and the mirror is here, and you see Dumbledore looking into that mirror, and that is where we see him do the blood pact with Grindelwald, and eventually what we see him looking into the mirror to try to remember and see his lost siblings, out of despair, very much as Harry had done so with his parents, looking into that magic mirror in the very first Harry Potter film. Positives for this movie: special effects are great. I saw it in 3D. You don't really need to see it in 3D. It kind of helps, but still, despite the great special effects for the magic and the spells, no spells really go off in your face where the 3D would be most effective. Still, the monsters or the fantastic beasts, the creatures, still look pretty fake. As if maybe they were done with the Chinese CG or legendary CG. I don't know what's up with Warner Brothers, but you guys got to lock down your animation, computer-generated animation effects department. There is no reason Marvel should be beating you on so many fronts with all their movies. And why DC from Warner Brothers, why now Harry Potter, or the Fantastic Beast franchise should be suffering from this lack of expert CG, computer-generated animation and effects. That being said, the movie starts off with Johnny Depp, I think 3 months or 6 months after the end of the first movie. And it starts off gangbusters, and I was really happy with that and excited about that. But then the plot, the pacing takes a nosedive as it moves from Grindelwald and his escape into what seemed to be stupid relationship trouble between Eddie Redmayne's character, and Tina from the first movie that he had kind of had feelings for, and relationship trouble between his friend, that muggle, the human, and the wizard or the witch that he had kind of fell in love with, that blonde chick called Queenie, I guess. And even there is like 5 minutes where you really see like a really nice kind of loving relationship between Queenie and that guy, the human. But then it's dispersed, just like that. And that sets off the most unexplained rationale of an evil turn for her that I think is really disingenuous to the movie and hard to come to grips with. Okay, they make it that she's a stupid blonde woman. Another stereotype from J.K. Rowling's, which she's had some trouble with in the past, and especially even in this film, and its marketing and creation. We'll get into that a little later. But so this dumb blonde, because she doesn't feel her man loves her, even though he does, but he's just trying to protect her. She goes crazy, which, I guess, she doesn't like that word anyways. And she really does go crazy. And she joins Johnny Depp's evil team, as the pre-Death Eaters or whatever those Voldemort guys turn into. But for Grindelwald, essentially. Essentially, they're the Death Dealers or Death Eaters or whatever, from Harry Potter. They're the precursors to that. So I guess it was very nice of Grindelwald to set up this network of, well, there's always going to be discrimination and kind of class system, superiority complexes between wizards and non-magical humans. But it was really nice for that to have been established prior to Voldemort, so Voldemort could just slip right in right away, not have to form his own organization, just, rekindle the ashes that were already there. I don't know. I'm making a bit of a stink about it, but obviously, from the rise in hate groups in America, within the last, since the last presidential election, they've, it's obvious that it's always been there, and it just takes the right person to come in and rekindle that kind of hatred, sentiments, and, spark up controversy once more. And again, speaking on that, J.K. Rowling got into a lot of flack because there's an Asian character in here, that is linked to Voldemort. Nagiri, there's the woman that turns into a snake. We find out she was a woman and not just a mystical beast, the snake. And of course she turns out to be, of Asian descent. And so she got some flack for like making the dragon, the proverbial dragon lady. She's a little bit of a stronger character, but still it's no good knowing where she goes after all this. It's like it's hard to root for her because she still ends up being evil, I guess, and working directly for Voldemort. I don't know. All I got to say is in the last movie, I don't know how many movies they're trying to milk out of the Fantastic Beasts, but if we don't see like a serious movement towards wrapping things up within, the third movie, I don't think I'm going to follow through with any more of these. I missed the first one, and I didn't want to see it. I saw this one because, Jude Law, Johnny Depp should be really good. Even Eddie Redmayne, I think, is good in this one. But honestly, did they need him? I don't think so. Essentially, he comes across as a Matt Smith Doctor Who. And I think Matt Smith could have carried this role of Newt Scamander just as well as Eddie Redmayne does. So the pacing is all over the place and slows down incredibly through the middle of the film after starting off really fast and high-paced with action and get your attention, only to put you to sleep. And one person did fall asleep in the theater, as I heard him snoring behind me during that middle part. And then finally there's a little bit of action at the end, where there should have been like something a lot more on the scale of maybe an Infinity War fight. I mean, because everybody here has powers, but no, they're just all overmatched. And even the Harry Potter fights were a little bit better than this one. And they, again, set up things so much for this third movie, even saying that, okay, now Dumbledore is free. He will be able to fight, Grindelwald directly. We'll just have to see. I hope it's going to be much better. But for this one, I'd say just see it on Netflix. Matinee if you're a hardcore Potter fan. But for full price, especially for 3D, I say don't do it. Matinee or discount days only. All right, again, shock a thumbs down. Sorry, this is Trinidad the Island Man saying shock a thumbs down for the Crimes of GrIndelwald. All right, thank you so much, and aloha.